Hello, everyone. Welcome to Community CPA's webinar. We are an accounting firm and we love to share knowledge with you all. And this is why we have these webinars every day of the week except Sundays. But Thursdays are kind of our special days where we invite guests in the communities that we're working with to come and talk about exciting things that are happening so that we can share the word, especially as it pertains to business and strengthening your business or entrepreneurial ideas. So today here with us, we have Liz Hebing from the Iowa City Area Development Group. Hi, Liz. Welcome.
Hi. Yeah, thanks so much for having us.
And we also have James Atkin, who works with Builders. Sorry, what is the Builders and Backers, right? Is the organization.
Good to see you.
Well, welcome to both of you. And we're going to be talking about the 2022 Idea Accelerator. So generally, I want to open it up to both of you now to talk about yourself and your roles in this project.
Sure, I can kick things off. So as Catherine mentioned, I'm Liz Hebing from the Iowa City Area Development Group. And our organization helps support entrepreneurs and interstate commerce companies within the Iowa City area. And we reached, or Builders and Backers reached out to us a few months ago saying that they thought our community would be a really great place for this program. They've done the program a couple times now in different communities, Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Oxford, Mississippi. And we just heard really, really great things from the people that went through the program. And I'll let James talk about what Builders and Backers is exactly, as he's kind of the guru for all of that.
Yeah, thank you. We're very excited to be here. We're very excited to be in Iowa. The main thrust in our mind here is our theory is there are many, many thousands and thousands of ideas out there that could be world-changing, community-changing, huge opportunities that aren't being acted upon. So our kind of goal here is we want to help people find those ideas and help them think about getting them off the bench, getting them actually out from their head, actually operationalizing them. And then let's go see what happens with them. So our whole program is we spend 90 days basically working with people on what problem did you want to solve? What idea do you have? Okay, how can we run a really easy, low friction experiment to see, does your idea work? Is your thesis right? What data do you need? And here's $5,000 to actually try and run it. And our theory then is we get more ideas out there, more things happening, and we're very excited to be trying this in Iowa City for the first place in Iowa.
Awesome. So James, can you tell us a bit about some of the results of the Idea Accelerator in other places?
Yeah, so as Liz mentioned, we ran this in Oxford, Mississippi and Tulsa, Oklahoma this fall. And it was really interesting data. And we had a range of ideas from a woman who's launched a very novel college counseling app for schools that don't have college counselors to have students be able to access that type of counseling, which would be really interesting, to a couple in Oklahoma who launched the first that I'm aware of Black-owned business loyalty program. So instead of going getting your Starbucks card for Starbucks, any Black-owned business in that community that you go to, you can get loyalty points and so forth too. And so it's kind of a range of ideas from that to another one. There's a woman in Mississippi who has a really cool concept she's working on right now, which is she wants to create a distributed sewing network so that you actually have manufacturing happening back here in the US. So right now, most Etsy companies, most designers do most of that work in Europe, overseas. And her theory is if I can get 4 or 5, 6, 10 people here in Mississippi who can sew, then I can actually sell that service to companies online who may want to actually build things in the US, but have a hard time finding the people to do that. So that's, it's kind of a sampling of the kind of things we're seeing to try and build.
Awesome. So when it comes to the need for the Idea Accelerator, how did that come about as you're working with these communities?
Yeah, I mean, it comes from the idea that, one, there's an incredible amounts of money being spent on entrepreneurship in this country, but still we're still on a record low of new business starts. And I think part of that is a lot of that money gets spent on the coasts in big places where, traditional venture capital, small business startups happen. And then there are people who don't think of themselves as entrepreneurs. So a big part of our program is we use the term builder because we think entrepreneurship has become a loaded term of, I didn't go to Cornell or MIT, I didn't have a CS background, I can't possibly be an entrepreneur, that's not my thing. But our take is anyone can be a builder. With digital tools available today, anyone can be a builder, anyone can build something interesting. So we want to find people and say, put all the stuff about what you are, what you're not out of your head. What idea do you have? What problem do you want to solve? Let's do that together and see what happens.
Awesome. So you mentioned the need to get it off, just from the coast in terms of entrepreneurship. Why Iowa City?
I think it just comes down to we're looking for interesting places. Iowa City obviously is a location with a large hospital system, kind of interesting things happening. Liz and ICAD have been a great kind of partner as we talk through this. They're thinking about things the right way. They understand that there is a realm where if you get more people doing experimenting and more people trying new things, you're going to end up creating more jobs, you're going to end up creating more entrepreneurship. And so I think it's a combination of Iowa being a fascinating place to try this, and ICAD and Liz being a great partner. We're excited to do it here.
And I can touch on that too. From our perspective, we help entrepreneurs every day, but so often these super early stage people, the people with the ideas, we don't know where to send them. Like, we don't have services or programs that really are there to support those people. So we're really excited to partner with builders and backers to provide them with that on-ramp to entrepreneurship. And once they go through this program, they can go to some of the other programs within our community, like the Multicultural Development Center's BIPOC Business Accelerator or the University of Iowa's Venture School. We see this as a complement, not taking over a place in another service provider is doing in our community. So we're excited to hopefully fill a gap in that way.
My favorite data point from our last couple of cohorts is that 75% of people who built something said they would never build anything without this program. And so in many ways, we're not out there, if someone's already building something and someone's already going to try it, that's not who we're looking for. We're trying to get ideas off the sidelines that wouldn't normally be there. And so I think that's what we're most proud of, is getting people who may not normally think of themselves as being in this space or having kind of what it takes to do this, say, hey, look, you can do this. It is something you can do. We'll help you do it. Here's capital to do it. And I think like that data point of just getting more people into that system, more people into the entrepreneurship, space, that's what we're excited to do.
Perfect. And so what does somebody need to apply?
All you need is an idea and a kind of problem you want to solve, an idea how to solve it, and we'll work you through the rest.
Okay, so it doesn't require that you already have established any sort of business?
We actually prefer you don't. We prefer you have very little done on it. We want to actually help you go from the ground up on it. So we're not out there asking, do you have an LLC? We're not out there asking, do you have a product already? We want, like, what's the idea in your head? I always talk about this of like, if you're thinking, you're at a traffic light or you're shopping with your family, like, oh man, someone should do X or someone should build Y, or why doesn't this exist? That's what we want. Your daily lives, you think about things that could be really amazing. That's how startups happen. That's how the best ideas happen, is someone goes, oh, wow, this doesn't exist. Maybe I should try and build that. I think our general take is you can do that.
Yeah, that's absolutely great. So are there any particular types of ideas that qualify, or it's pretty broad?
It's pretty broad on our end. We're excited to see what ideas come up to the focus. Our program is industry agnostic, and as I mentioned before, we had things ranging from sewing to Black-owned businesses to a really interesting like college counseling application, right? And so it's kind of very broad, and we generally see any idea out there we can kind of help you work through. So we're excited to see we already have several really good applications in from Iowa City. We're excited to get more, and we're excited to work with the community on this.
Perfect. So maybe Liz can speak on this, but can you walk us through the program timeline of from when the application is due and then what they can expect from the program?
Sure, yeah. So applications are due on December 19th. So you have 10 days to get your applications in. And from there, the program will begin on January 20th, 2022, and will conclude on May 5th, 2022 with a big celebration and opportunity for you to show your ideas. James, anything you want to add to that?
No, that's great. I mean, I think one of the things that I think we're most excited about with Iowa City joining is, it'll be, the cohort in January will be Iowa City, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, and Oxford, Mississippi. And then we're adding more communities every quarter to the degree where we're gonna have thousands of people across the country working on really interesting ideas to scale businesses, to create ventures along those lines. And I think it's really cool and a good signal here that Iowa's early on, and Iowa City is the first location in Iowa to do this, and we're excited to kind of use this as a springboard, have the rest of the country try this.
Awesome. Yeah, I looked at the application on your website, and it seems pretty straightforward in terms of what are they trying to achieve, and their ideas about it and the challenges. So I think that it's pretty low barrier in terms of the application itself. So that's great. And then in terms of the program structure, weekly time commitment, that sort of thing, what will they be learning during this time?
Yes, we run a weekly cadence where people will sign on for about an hour and a half of live learning that are done remotely, where we're kind of going through unpacking how you think about your idea, how you run an experiment. One of the biggest pieces that we teach people is failure is not failure. It's a data point. And that's a big hump for many people to get over is, oh, I failed at this. I'm clearly not cut out for this. No, everyone fails. It's part of the learning process. And so kind of getting into that stuff. And then we partner you with mentors from across the country who've already built businesses in a similar vein to what you're building. So you're kind of getting some kind of counseling, coaching time with people who've done this before. So that happens for about 6 weeks of that time. And then the rest of the program then is, okay, so that you've figured out your experiment, you want to run on your idea, and then we go do it together. We kind of work on the idea together. We have weekly calls with me or someone like me who's going to help walk you through, okay, what questions do you have? What digital tools do you think we could use? Is this going to fit in this space? Do you need to build something? Can we just literally, the core question is, will someone buy that? Will someone download it? That's those type of questions. You're really trying to get to the basis of what you're trying to build. And then after that, 6-7 week period, you have run an experiment that gives you data points to tell you what the next step is. And you may have learned that, oh man, I have something here. This actually could be a real thing. Let's go next step. Is there more funding do I need to do? Do I need to incorporate? What's the next step? Or you may go, okay, my thesis was wrong, but I maybe have found something different. And that's a great example from Oxford is we had, the sewing example, woman doing the sewing, she came into this program thinking she wanted to sell her services to factories. That was her idea. She wanted to train people to sew and sell the services to factories. She kind of found that it was a kind of mismatch. Factories didn't think about the world that way. And so she came out of the program going, actually, it's really these like kind of emerging Etsy businesses that are really on the cutting edge and looking and desperate to find US-based manufacturing for their products. That's why I should be focusing. And that's kind of how it's gone from there.
That's wonderful. And I think part of the exciting thing about the program is that they have the space and also some financial support in order to explore the idea further and see where it can take them, right? So can you tell us a bit about the funds and how that works?
Yeah, so you basically have access to up to $5,000 of non-dilutive funding. So it's not funding that ties into equity. It's not funding that has to be repaid back. You literally get a credit card that allows you to spend money. So there's no tax implications either, which I think is really valuable. And then we work with you on a budget of like, okay, again, the whole idea is how do you run a really tight, low friction experiment to see, does your idea hold weight? What can you learn from my idea? What data points do you need? And then we go and do it. So that's kind of how that piece works. And so there's a lot of back and forth on the budget piece of understanding what are you actually trying to do? What resources available for you to do that? And what do you need financially to do it?
Perfect. So those are my main questions. I will open it up now for other people to ask questions. You can do that either in the chat or or raise your hand and we can let you speak. One of the questions is the main criteria and expectations for the winter round. So you did kind of discuss that. I didn't know if you wanted to touch base on any of that further.
I think just broadly, there's no criteria. The focus really is what's the problem you're trying to solve? What's the problem you identified? And like, what is your kind of what's your back of the envelope solution? You know, we don't expect people to come and say, I have the idea. Here's the idea I want to do. I'm ready to build it. You know, we want to kind of walk you through and help you think through the problem you're trying to solve. You know, a problem I've been working on in my own backyard is we have a large amount of food deserts in our community and lots of farmers. And there's a big kind of a mismatch where the farmers aren't getting the food into the food deserts. So we're currently working on a mobile market that actually buys food from these farmers and then sells it in the food deserts. And that's kind of my problem was this, I see this mismatch. How do I solve that problem? You know, and so it's really about like, what's the problem you're trying to solve? You know, what's your back of the envelope idea to actually solve it? And then we can work with you on the rest.
Perfect. I'll read out loud if there are any other questions, but what is the best way that they can find out more about the information about the program, or how do they contact you if they have follow-up questions after this session?
Yeah, I'll put my email in the chat. I know Liz has also put some really good information in there as well in terms of our website. But yeah, definitely reach out to us on the website, reach out to me directly. And we're happy to answer any questions.
Okay. And then does it have to be an idea with an end product, such as an app, or could it be a community gathering of sorts?
All of the above. One of my favorite actually programs from Mississippi is there's a gentleman who, you know, he's a bartender and he's really interested in this idea of he wanted to open a restaurant, but was having a hard time figuring out how to get the funding and support to do so. So he had this idea of what if we could bring minority business owners, people hoping to open a business together with investors. So now he runs a monthly happy hour, almost like a speed dating for an entrepreneurship in Mississippi, where they bring in investors and they bring in creatives who are building things, and they have like a 10-minute like together speed round, and they try and figure out, you know, here's what I'm trying to do. That's just here's what I want to invest in. And we're leaving these dinners with like actually really interesting connections that wouldn't have happened already. It's been so successful that actually Secretary of State of Mississippi is now trying to do the same thing statewide, which we're really excited about. So it's not all about, you know, applications and job creation. You know, those are definitely a heavy part of it. But, you know, if you have an idea for a program, it's an idea for a program. Let's talk about it.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Sorry, somebody said the chat didn't show some of the notes, but I can follow up with them later on it. So if you have questions, also I'll help connect after the webinar. So thank you so much for being on this, James and Liz. Any final thoughts and words? Again, application is due on the 19th. Is that correct?
That is correct. Thanks, everyone. I'll put the application into everyone in the chat. I realized I was just doing it to the panelists, so there we go. Hopefully that helps to the people in the audience.
Yeah, and I think the point I would leave you with that I think we're most excited about that we have seen across the country so far is don't feel intimidated by this. Anyone can do this. If you have, you know, if you even just for a second think, oh, I could, but oh, that's not for me. Do it. See what happens. We can work with you on it. And I think like our whole mantra here is anyone can build something amazing because the ideas are up there. And our whole idea is how do we get you take that idea and help you actually launch it and try something. And I think that's, you know, especially of why we're so excited to be in places like Iowa City is I think there's ideas just below the surface, just hanging out there. Let's get it out there. Let's get them actually operationalized to see what happens. Perfect.
Thank you so much for your time, James and Liz. I super appreciate you sharing about this program, and I hope it goes well. So we'll keep tabs on it and happy to participate in any way we can to support it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Catherine. Thanks.
All right.
Bye.
Take care, everyone.